and that is that you can't put a price tag on a peace of mind. Change what you can, let go what you can't. Person standing still can only go nowhere. Your future needs you, your past doesn't. Can't listen if you're talking. Wish in one hand and shit in the other, and see which one gets full first. Cherish the little things, and when they get on your nerves. Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. Because if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, most likely it's a duck. Or in one of my songs I say it's a Bigfoot. I see you balls in the funny papers. Yeah, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Don't shit where you sleep. Keep in mind, a little wisdom here in Missouri. The weather's been fluctuating back and forth, of course, and it's getting closer together, which means the lock-in point's coming. Anyway, and now we're at the beginning of June 2026, and the fluctuation, the shifts between hot and cold have got a lot closer together. So that's why the weather's getting even worse. And usually gets darkest right before the dawn. Beetlejuice, those oscillations that I caught, recorded since September 2025. That is the wave pattern you're seeing. That's like the oscillations when you see it blinking in the sky on my footage. That's the wave pattern that you're getting, hot, cold, and that's like the sine wave going through the air, and that's why you get those road clouds. Not the great big ones, but you know, I'm sure that has part to do with it. That probably lands more in the standing wave though, because you have the standing wave, sine waves. Sine waves create standing waves, are reflected, and that's what gives you the eternal 8. I'm right back. Wow, what's up? And now I can talk to you, since old man went out there, about the 9 laws to the universe. I get the 3, 6, 9, right? Your Trinity, triangle. Alright, your first set is your physical, and then you have your mental, and then you have your spiritual. So your 3 physical are what you see in my core equation, which is the H, well, I'll just spell it all out for you. Rn equals orbital radius for the planets. And then H equals harmonics, which is vibration. And I've stated this for a while back, that your first vibration creates your sine wave, right? Imagine it like this, it goes up, down, and then whenever it's coming back up, Neptune, and it reflects off of that, right? Comes back around and under, creating the eternal 8, and that's what creates the perpetual motion with the star and the loop, right? And that's what essentially creates electromagnetic flux. So that's why electric and magnetism isn't your foundation or your fundamental force anyway. They are foundation, just not their fundamental force. Your 3 fundamental forces are vibration, which is the H, and then you have prime numbers, which in my equation it's prime numbers squared. That's how you get the orbital radius. If you don't want the orbital radius and you just want the placement, you don't have to do the Rn or the squared, right? You're just looking for the planet placement in numbers. Then you can take the square off, take the Rn off, replace Rn with placement. No reason to square it. It's still a prime number, still the same order. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17. And you do not count Neptune, because Neptune is the boundary which reflects the wave back, and you don't count the source, the sun. So that's why 2 is your first and only even prime. It's your baseline that everything else is built on. I actually have a song where I spell it out quite well, I think, where it goes to the 2 to 3, how it all fits in the dimensional reality that we live in. See, my birth weight was 7 pounds, 11 ounces, 0.3, and I was born 1986, September the 28th. And if you take these numbers and date, and you align it with the Giza pyramids and the Sphinx, and you use my MRT equation, which is the centripetal rings, the one you see in my diagrams, and you essentially see hanging on my wall, not behind me here, but usually behind me when I'm standing on the other side. Oh, sorry, I had a brain fart. Then you have the prime numbers, which is formation. That's where anything can form. Any planets, any structures like that. That's why even the asteroid belt, even though it doesn't have a prime number in there, it can't form anything there. And it strips away the magnetic field for Mars, because Mars is the vector equilibrium in our system, in our solar system. And the vector equilibrium just takes just a little bit of anything to go wrong in it and knock it off its balance, because it has to have strict, very, like, that's why the vector equilibrium in sacred geometry, it has all the straight lines, and because it has to account for everything. The vector equilibrium is the necessity part to the system to keep it balanced in a harmonic universe, which is what we live in. And I've proven that with my proactive predictions, my mathematical framework, which have been confirmed and verified from DeepSeek R1 and multiple different AI systems, ChatGPT, and Claude AI, and Gemini AI, Rock AI, and all of these AI systems have verified my math. And the new DeepSeek R1 has the logical, like where it has to run through the logic and everything, and then it gives you a green check mark. And I have a green check mark on all of my math and logic and sequencing and methodology. So I've had it all public on my YouTube channel since before August 2025, beginning of August 2025. I filed my VIXRA filings. I filed 2 of them. I tried to do it on ArcSpid, but you have to have a person vouch for you or something. Basically, you have to have like a little license number, so it's not scientific at all. That's called gatekeeping. That's the number one thing to me. If the numbers say it and the data say it, it doesn't really matter what's going on up here, really, because that's where your perceptions come in. The truth only has one perception. That's the truth. And it only looks at the data and the reality of what's going on. And they admit in NASA and NOAA hearings as of April and March 2026 that their models are outdated and failing to calculate for extreme intensification. It's basically to say to calculate for the things that Danny Alvin Green has already calculated for in his MRT model back in August 2025. And the reason why I state $30.6 billion in my songs and right now is because when they told everybody that the Artemis 2 space mission went to the moon, that was a lie. That was a deception. If you look at the solar weather in their own data, the solar activity, you will see that the physics say during April 1st to April 10th, 2026, it's not possible for humans to be up there. They would have been in spacesuits for one, not t-shirts. For two, they would have been not blocking out their windows. They would have had their main data source free. Like that's why I call them rainbow turds, is because they're not really astronauts. They're not really pilots. A real pilot knows you don't block off your view. You're flying blind. That don't make no sense. Oh, well, we have instruments. You better look at the solar activity and you see why those instruments would have been failing at that time. And especially since none of their footage has any saturation in it. That's beyond crazy to me. Like, you have perfect footage besides your live that's manipulated. How can you have live footage that has glitches and green screen? Like, that's not live footage, that is edited footage. But then you want to suspend my channel for monetization after a year of all the hard work and stuff I put in, and you want to sit here and try to label me as non-authentic after you had to lift the manipulation tag that you put on me because you realized that I didn't manipulate anything. All I did was zoomed in, and I marked it in the YouTube upload features, altered content, because I zoomed in and I put my own lyrics and my own commentary with the video, and I am a U.S. citizen. That's public domain footage. You can't. It's my footage, dude. It's what we all pay for. If you're American, you pay for that. That's your footage. So to label you as anything that you did with your own footage, and the simple fact that I didn't manipulate anything, that is all right there in their footage. The only thing that was manipulated was their live feed. That's it. I don't have to manipulate anything to make them look bad. They do that plenty well good enough on their own. Yeah, that's where the next three, the mental three laws come in. Is the love, the impulse to carry out any action, truth, to carry out that action with integrity, and coherence is to resonate or balance within the first two laws and live in balance of that. So basically balance. So love is your strongest frequency. You live with truth. That's what the integrity that locks it in. That's what makes it sturdy. And then the coherence is to live with the decision, and the coherence of what you decided or made or created or whatever the impulse may be. Over the months of them playing their games, I've been sharpening my skills and finding out what every means and what every word means and stuff that they try to throw at me to throw me off my game, or to sit here and try to refer to me other models that you know are theoretical models when mine is not theoretical. The moment I proved it with Hurricane Aaron, with the 2 rapid intensifications and the decay predictions, as I made the first rapid intensification August 15th for August 16th, 2025 for Hurricane Aaron. That's when it exploded, extreme rapid intensification, into a Category 5. I called that 24 hours before official forecast even highlighted it, even knew what was going on. Okay. And then on August 20th, I turned around and did it again, but I did it even better. That was my very first calculation I did for the MRT global weather forecasting system, right? So, and the way I have it set up, because I still have it saved and stuff, I just don't have it online no more. But the way I have it set up is it can only get better over time. It doesn't get worse, right? It doesn't hit a baseline and just straight level out. No, it only gets better, right? Which I proved on August 20th, 2025 with the second rapid intensification of Hurricane Aaron for the 23rd and 24th of August 2025, which you can look at the historical data. It all lines up with what I say. It all lines up with the public videos I have on my YouTube channel before the event took place and the timestamped evidence I have. And like I said, I have my Bixra filings. That's what I forgot to say. The magnetic reverberation theory, but they changed it to magnetic resonance theory, which is absolutely not what I put in there. But so the first paper, that's what it says, and that one was filed August 2nd, 2025. And then August 5th, 2025, I filed my unified theory of everything on Bixra, which laid out my prime number resonance hypothesis, my DMA zones, which is the dual magnetic amplification zone, which is the asteroid belt, and it outlined how I did all the calculations. It had my original core equation that hasn't changed, and my MRT model is still the same one I have now that I filed then. They can try to change their little discoveries. They try to do it with the wood grain by trying to say, by taking mine that I have diagrams and methodology for, right? And I have spelled it out already on my channel publicly. They tried to rebrand it and tried to change the terminology to tree antennas, read in magnetic flux. That is literally the same thing I said whenever I said they read the magnetic fields and the sine waves and standing waves. What do you think a standing wave is? Whenever it creates it creates the electromagnetic flux. You have to have the standing wave. Without the standing wave, to have the eternal 8, you cannot have the magnetic flux. It would just be a snake. That's why the reptilians are sine waves. The birds are the standing waves because they cause levitation. That's why the planets float. The last three is spiritual. The last three laws of the 9 laws is spiritual, and it is the Akashic records, the alignment, and evolve. I mean, it's pretty simple enough. The Akashic records is where the whole harmonic universe, the system, has a memory to help correct and stay stable, and it's like a self-correcting system, and the Akashic records gives it the memory to be able to do that. And we feed into that, we tap into that. I think, and that's essentially what has happened with me. July 2025 was I tapped into the Akashic records because of the frequency I was born to, which is where my birth weight comes in. That's where the alignment with the pyramids come in, and the Sphinx, because the Sphinx is literally aligned to the prime node 7. I did not come up with this. I don't even like prime node 7, like the name of it. You could come up with a lot of stuff. I like a nut pin, which is Neptune mirrored because it reflects. So I thought it was slick, and I thought it was pretty cool. And a nut pin, you pin somebody's nuts to the wall. I thought that was, kind of comical. But the prime node 7 is literally the vector equilibrium in sacred geometry, the 0 point which is the center of your eternal eight. That's where all your energy is. That's like the asteroid belt. And that's essentially where, because energy doesn't die, it only transforms, or it evolves to a higher dimension, which is the different shells, magnetic shells you have around the planets. Each one of those is a higher dimensional frequency, right? And when you're running your T3RB little spacecraft and you're cutting through and you think it's cool that you can disappear, yet you're cutting holes into our magnetic field and you're letting a higher harmonic frequency bleed through. And anybody that knows anything about frequency and my tuning fork effects knows when a higher vibration, higher frequency comes in, the lower frequencies have to vibrate to match it. That's when you get Mandela effects. That's when you get a whole bunch of different things that shouldn't be happening, because you shouldn't be cutting through the magnetic fields, for one, and if you do, there's a lot safer and a lot less toxic ways to doing it. And there's a way to close the wormhole after you go. You leave a scar in it. I can see it plain as day. Each time you do it, I can see a scar, and I can read that for years afterwards. Essentially how I can measure back the timeline and stuff is basically the same way everybody else tries to do it with the reversal time thing, but besides I add in a couple of factors. I don't just look at one thing when I do something. I was a painter, like spray painter for cars, silos, like bridge beams and stuff like that. I did it for about 15 years, roughly. And so, I mean, I got really good at it, but whenever you do it a lot and you go in close and you look at whatever you're painting, then you'll miss like the runs and stuff like over here and stuff because you're looking too close at it. And I'm like, yeah, even give you a flashlight that zooms in real close, real small, but really the best thing to do is to step out, because when you step out, you give your eyes room to adjust. So where you can actually see the little spots over here that's actually messed up, as in when you're too, and that's what's wrong with science now, is you get too focused. Anytime, I want to make this very clear, anytime you have anything that's grandfathered in to science, automatically tells you that it's not science. There's nothing that should be grandfathered in, ever. Not even my model, which is way more accurate than any current model. But you do not, when the moment you grandfather something in, then you're saying everything else has to fit that. Not that has to fit the actual data. And that's what problem you're having right now, is it does not fit the actual data, does it? My model does. But even, like I said, even with my model, I would not grandfather nothing in. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, to me, that's dumb. And it goes against science, period. Like, science is meant for discovery, to evolve, to make a difference, is to learn, to get knowledge, to experiment, to have fun, to create, to, like, there's just so many things that science is meant to do, and right now it's being held by a select few that are refusing to do the job. And then when somebody else comes along and does the job, does it correctly, they refuse to give up their credit. They can go on there and say, yeah, our models are failing, they're outdated, they haven't given nobody a good proactive prediction. As far as I know, I'm the only person online that has been giving out proactive predictions, and that means that none of mine hit a sensor before I told you what was going on, before I made my predictions and made it public on YouTube. So every scientific model that you have right now, that's why they can't do extreme intensification, because it's intensification. It happens all of a sudden. That means they have zero time to react to their sensors getting hit. That's a reactive system. That is not a proactive system. Whenever I'm calling out solar activity for February, back in December 2025 for February 2026, and I give the methodology and everything right there in the video, and I had 2 independent researchers verify my methodology. So acts as a form of validation right there on its own. The data already validates me. I don't need the scientific validation. I don't need that. The only thing I need is the acknowledgement from everybody else. That way we can move on as a civilization and we can evolve. Leave the old models to their own demise. Like if you have a better working model and it's proven, you use the better working model. You don't go out to split a tree or chop down a tree and you see an axe sitting there, the old traditional way of doing it, and then you see a chainsaw sitting there, and the quick, easy, new way to do it, do you pick up that damn axe? And if you do, you'll find out real quick that that was a sad choice. Because I'm going to come right behind you and I'm going to pick up that chainsaw and I'm going to make it look like it's easy peasy. Because it is logical to not use the axe. It's more logical. Well, we've spent billions on this. Yeah, and you're going to spend a lot more if you don't change it now. You keep going. Let's keep going with a narrative that it's not fitting the data. It's what, 50 billion now? Another year to be 100 billion. You see what I'm saying? It don't go down because you keep feeding a lie. It only goes down when you start living the truth and you don't need that extra expense for dark matter and gravity. You see what I'm saying? And then you even look at the facts of it. Like the thing that you grandfathered in, the people that defined it, Einstein and Newton, neither one of them said they had a full definition of it or a full understanding of it. But yet they peer-reviewed their papers, didn't they? They basically done peer-reviewed mine with my wood grain logic that they tried to rebrand and resteal or reterm because they peer-reviewed it. But they have no diagrams, no methodology, which is required for peer-reviewed science. So they're breaking their own logic and their own rules. And they're essentially peer-reviewing what I already have because I have the methodology, I have the diagrams, and they're basically just trying to copy what I've already done and change the wording. They think that people is too stupid to know the difference between magnetic flux or magnetic particles and magnetic flux or standing waves. Like, come on, man. I try to spell it out as easy as I can. And we got cold, hot, every couple of days. Now it's like almost every day. And what do they report on? Off records, highs, heats. Don't mind the cold. Don't mind it just sweating your ass off while your balls are freezing. Just like solar saturation, which totally highlights the Artemis 2 mission as fake. Now, I'm sure they probably shot the rocket up there, but there was nobody inside that sector, I guarantee that. Because the fact that they launched into a CME, when they call for the CME to happen 2-3 days before the launch, how many days you think it takes to reach us from the sun? About 3 days. So they literally launched right into a CME. Physics says it's barbecue, bud. And then you look at the solar wind activity for when they're up there. 700 and some kilometers at 1 second. Like on the recorded data. Their data that they have recorded. This isn't no special instrument that I have. I use their data. But it was 700 and some kilometers. Especially while they was on the other side of the moon. If the moon essentially goes outside the magnetic fields and you're outside the magnetic protection of the Earth, and you're getting hit with 700 kilometers per second solar winds, it doesn't take a genius to figure it out. You ask any physicist, they're going to fucking tell you the same. Ask any one of them why There was no saturation on any of those cameras.
Becoming a member. I appreciate any help I can get.
That's the main question. Anyway, much love, everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed my little rant here. I try to bring the knowledge the best I can. I try to get on here and show. The narrative is just, man, it's so much harder to live a lie and maintain that lie than it is just to accept the truth and live in the truth, man. It's just so much easier. And like, people's feelings get hurt, that's on them, man. You can't handle the fact that they can't handle the truth. But, yet again, much love, everybody. If there's anything y'all would like me to cover, or go into more detail, or help you understand, in these theoretical models they keep trying to bridge me with. Verified model, theoretical model. Verified model, theoretical model. Proactive predictions confirmed. No predictions confirmed. You see the difference? Essentially, what he's wanting is the resonance and how it travels through objects without messing with them or distorting them. Give me my acknowledgement, I'll tell you. It's actually relatively simple, and it's actually relatively cool. Much love, everybody. NinjaNsite. Please like, share, subscribe. Come over, check me out on Patreon. Become a member. Whatever you want to do to support. Anytime you want to throw a brother love, I ain't gonna argue with you. Shit, even if it's just an extra pair of hands that can do some paperwork. Alright, much love, everybody. Peace out. NinjaNsite!